A lot of people wondering how the tariffs will impact them with investments, prices, and whether it could lead to more jobs in the long run. I talked with money analyst Jon Delano to get some perspective on what we might expect. Jon, explain to me, first of all, what do these tariffs mean for businesses and for all of us?
Well, these tariffs are really charges that are laid on top of products that are brought into the United States. And these are taxes. And the question is, who pays for these taxes? Does the company absorb the tax and sell their product at the same price? Or do they add the tax onto the price of the goods so that consumers in America will pay higher prices? It's a big unknown. Most people are saying that the companies are going to add this tariff on top of the price of the $4 trillion worth of goods that come into this country.
So explain what the president's stated goals are for these tariffs and when we might see them come to fruition.
Well, maybe it's no surprise President Trump, who is a baby boomer, is thinking of the 1950s and how the world operated back then, when America made everything. And we were not only the leading economic power, as we still are, but we were the leading exporter of goods. That's not the case today. We take in more products, about $1.1 trillion more in foreign goods than we actually export. And he wants to change that. And he believes, and his advisors believe, that by imposing these tariffs, he can get American companies and foreign companies to start making things in America again, because those companies and products would not face a high tariff. Now, is it a wish and a prayer? Who knows? But one thing is certain, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of time to see whether something like this works. And there's a lot of pain that Americans may feel between now and then.
Can President Trump really change the way products are made globally by using tariffs?
Well, that's the big unanswered question, Christine. And I don't think anybody knows whether or not this can really yield some result. And the question, too, is the pain worth it? Because we've become a global economy. We've gotten used to buying things from China and from Europe and from Japan and from all over the world, and certainly from Canada and Mexico, one of our two leading trade partners. So do we want to give that up just to build a factory in Oshkosh? Maybe so. The president is betting that we would prefer that and that we're willing to pay higher prices in order to get to that point. But I think it's a real unanswered question as to whether this policy of high tariffs is going to lead to more manufacturing in the U.S.
Some people in his cabinet are saying that all of this might just be a negotiating tool. Could that be the case?
Well, our president is the art of the deal maker, right? And so I've heard the same said, even by his own son, that if you want to negotiate, now's the time to do it, and that maybe all this is just a negotiating ploy for one-on-one negotiations with different countries that impose high tariffs on the U.S. There are others who say no. As you pointed out earlier, this is part of a global strategy that he has to bring manufacturing back. If that's the case, then no amount of negotiating is going to make us, it's not going to make a difference. So we're going to see exactly what his ulterior motives are in the weeks ahead.